All right, very good. So I appreciate all you guys being here today. Of course, we send out the recordings for people that can't make it or they're tied up. But today, really what we want to go into is a continuation of what we started last week, which was a first week of a multi-week conversion lesson. Before that, we talked about lead generation marketing. So trying to stack these things together in weeks. So it's, 2-3 weeks of the same thing. So if you're reviewing, has some connection to it. So like this is almost the end of February, guys. This year is flying by and it continues to fly by. All right, perfect. If you're not where you want to be, almost end of 2 months into 2021, what you really want to do is just analyze what's going on. What are you doing? If you're having activity and it's not working, talk with us because it's the wrong type of activity. If you're not having any activity, well, no matter what we tell you or no matter what we advise that you do, it all comes back to your ability to get this thing started. You've got to provide the initial spark that is going to build this business. But up until that point, you've got to provide day in, day out intention, energy, aggression in the marketplace. So right here, right now, before we go into anything today, I want to talk a little bit about what's going on because I think in the next 90 to 120 days, all of this is going to look very different than it does right now because on a company level, there's a bunch of stuff happening. On a team level, there's a great amount of stuff happening. Even on an individual level with certain people, we're testing stuff, we're trying stuff. People are starting to break out, have their own ideas and thoughts they want to test. All of this does not happen overnight. But once things do click and they start really running for you, there's nothing stopping the growth except for qualified personnel. So you got to bring the human element because once you hit this exponential growth, it's got to be absorbed in an orderly way that gives everybody systematic approach, gives them all equal chances to be successful. You've got partners coming in from all different financial conditions. I will tell you that if a partner comes in and they have absolutely no money for marketing, they have no money to invest in their business build out is going to come 100% from sweat equity. And like we just talked about, the sweat equity is that day in, day out activity that brings intention, that brings energy, that brings organization, and brings a willingness to do whatever it is, X, Y, or Z, as well as be vulnerable. Go out there, put yourself out there, fail, learn from your mistakes. Right now, you can set yourself up. And then as the things start to mature in 90, 120 days, we have some new stuff for you guys. You'll be able to bring a velocity to what you're already doing, which is all we're looking for. Just throwing fuel on an existing fire to get it really burning. Last week, we talked about the first week of conversion and the conversion process after lead generation. What does that look like? The general blueprint for lead flow as well as conversion, bringing both education and enthusiasm to the process, separating the crowd to create interest, following up versus dump trucking, and utilizing a systematic multi-touch plan of action for follow-up, for reminders, all of these things that you're looking to do. Why is this important? Well, because conversion is going to make or break your business. And there's different types of conversion, and we're going to talk about that today. But conversion is going to allow you to see what's happening, why it's happening, how it's happening, and how to grow and scale what's already working. Remember, data-based decisions versus just getting emotional about the process and throwing things out in random directions. Everything that you do has a funnel system to it. Funneling marketing, funneling sales, funneling recruiting, funneling management. You're starting out at a wide base at the top, and through a number of things that you do through the process, you're going to, on the back end, create a smaller percentage of those people who actually fall into whatever it is that you're trying to do, whatever that target, whatever that objective, whatever that action step is, whatever you're trying to squeeze from that funnel, the small percentage on the back end is what you're looking for. And the way that we increase the positive outcomes is by learning what's working, what are our conversions, and how to incrementally increase some of that stuff. So at the back end, it has way bigger outcomes and positive ripple effects than we all probably realize. Let's talk a little bit about, and what I just realized is this is not recording, so I'll go back through and record it and send it out to you guys. But our business has a huge advantage here because we've divided it and let people gravitate towards what they want to specialize in. So, on the front end, the whole idea of opening conversations, marketing, that's for lead generation. So the capture, qualification, the nurturing of those leads allows that person to do one of two things: continue on that process to the education or hand it off. If you're handing off, then you've got sales ready potential leads that's building a pipeline that's leading to customers that can lead to referrals, start this process back forward. So on the front end, you've got to understand what you're doing on the back end. And if you're working with somebody and you're handing off and those, the conversion of that doesn't look good, there might be a problem with the educator. But you're never going to know unless you're keeping track. Remember, numbers will lead you in the right direction. No matter what part of the business that you're working with are on, all of it is just based on getting those conversion rates up to a percentage that starts to beat your competitors. And like we talk about, once you start to tweak some of these conversion rates on the front end, what it does on the back end for sales, for recruiting, for management, for referrals, income, revenue, it's all affected. You won't find anybody with a successful business that does not know their numbers. So one of the ways that you can separate yourself from the crowd is learning the back end of this business, what these numbers actually mean. We're an internet-based business. So, we do a lot of business online, whether it's, communicating with people, whether it's lead generation, marketing. And these are some telltale statistics that we need to understand. I'm not going to go through all of these, but you guys can see, some of this stuff really jumps out. 50% of the leads are only called one time. If you're calling a lead more than one time, you're already beating half your competition. Don't expect things to close on first calls, especially in a model like us where we lead with education. The average lead requires over 5 attempts to make a contact. So a lot of people hide behind their phones. If you're giving up, then you're never going to make contact with them. There's some other stuff that you guys can, evaluate on here and implement into your own business to help you. 5 best times to call, the best days to call. Really, for my schedule, what I see as conversion, whether it's marketing, sales, recruiting, management, the best days to work and pack as much as you possibly can in is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Monday is a day where normal people are coming off the weekend, kind of regrouping. Friday is a day where they look into that. Saturday is a day where you could only really, get calendar appointments done because it's an odd time to do the contacting. But you want to cram as much into the time that other people are open to doing business with you as possible. And once again, those conversion rates, as you start to understand when's the best time to work, bring that intention, energy, organization, aggression to those time frames, get as much done as you can, squeeze out when it's the best time for you. When we talk to individuals, especially on the partner side, we want to know one thing, or at least I lead with not direct questions, but I'm leading with peppered questions that get information that allow me to know where they are on the cash flow quadrant. Are they an employee? Are they a self-employed business owner, investor? I look at our business on the conversion side in the same type of way. It's a quadrant. And when you look at the quadrant for marketing, for sales, for recruiting, and for management or distribution, whatever it is that you want to call it, it's a lot easier to pick off your business, start segmenting it, looking at the individual quadrants and making the necessary corrections, edits, additions, whatever it might be, to where it's got a nice flow to it. First thing on the quadrant is lead conversion. That's your marketing. That's how you're opening conversations. That's how you're getting people into the front door of your business. The second quadrant is the sales conversion. So after that lead generation, after that marketing, it creates that lead. What is happening with the lead? If it's a client-based lead and it's going over into educational meetings for the purposes of creating buying decisions that lead to revenue and income and sales, well, that's got to be looked at as a separate quadrant. Once the lead's created, what happens to that lead? How is it going down a pipeline? Is it falling off? If so, where? Once again, how do we get better at taking a lead and converting that in the appropriate place to a sale? Although they combine together to form a flow, you've got to be able to segment this stuff and pick off what's working in a quadrant and then look at the other quadrant. If something's obstructing it or standing as a roadblock or obstacle, got to be able to remove that. The third quadrant is the recruitment conversion. This is the partner conversations. This is selecting a qualified partner to come in into your organization, into your office. And once again, this as itself has to be looked at as a segment of your business to understand, are you recruiting? What's the pace? What does the data look like? What do the conversions look like? And are you hiring or bringing in qualified people? And then finally, the last quadrant is the core systems conversion. That's the management, that's the distribution, that's getting people independent of you. And those 4 quadrants make up the business that I see for us. And I think once you understand how your business flows, what you're doing, what other people are doing, how it connects together, and then you start to make little incremental changes, it makes a big difference in the overall business for you, your organization, and whatever it is that you're trying to create on distribution. Remember, marketing 101. Why is conversion a key to your success? Because you're going to understand what's working and what's not working. If you're just throwing stuff out there and you have no real data to say, hey, this is working, this is not working, this person came from here, that was a positive, this person came from here, this is a negative, this person, or there's a great deal of people following out or falling off at a certain percent or a certain place in the funnel, it's easier to identify that stuff. And then once again, the conversion on the front end, the marketing, the lead generation, if you understand what that does in terms of the front door of your business, it's a huge part of what we do. We can have great products, services, systems, all that stuff, but if nobody's introduced to it in the proper way, it makes no difference. One of the things that we have to be aware of is that most people have no idea what they're doing. And whether you're running ads, whether you're doing organic lead generation, whether you're doing outbound calls, you're going to be able to track this stuff. And if you understand what you're doing, what that's getting you, and how to improve the process, it becomes a lot easier for you and to teach other people, which creates the independence from you. So AdWords accounts, most, about 42% have no idea if their campaigns are working. 58% have some level of conversion tracking in place. 97% of untracked campaigns, they fail. 2.1 is the median conversion rate, tracking rate. So you have to know, this is just an example. Whatever you're doing, you have to know, what your numbers are, and you have to put them up against maybe some averages or, within the company, outside the company, industry statistics, whatever it might be, to see how you're measuring up. Because if you're not measuring up and other people are finding other metrics of success, higher rates, then you can learn from them. You can adjust some things you're doing to get where you need to go. You can sharpen your ads. You can optimize your landing pages. You can test new ideas and funnels. You can pare down your audience. You can use the fear of missing out, in your storytelling. You can grow your social media. There's a lot of things to do on the front side of marketing and lead generation to boost those conversion rates. This is all it looks like, guys. You've got visitors, you've got an audience that you're creating, you're attracting them into something that you're doing. Most of the time it's education from our point that creates engagement. And then from the back end, we're converting those, whatever the target objective or the goal is, whether it's leads, whether it's sales, that's all the process is. So don't get emotional about this, become numb to the process, understanding if you create a flow and you work on bettering your situation and bettering your conversion, it opens a pipeline for you. You've got to know what you need to get what you want. And this is one of the things that I think a lot of new partners struggle with is A, creating a vision that actually propels them, but B, creating some type of an idea of what we need to do. And that's why we always tell you guys the first 60, 90 days, whatever, kind of feeling your way around. You've got to do enough activity to start to get some of these numbers returned to you so you can start to do what the rest of us are doing, which is making data-driven decisions. So if you have a 1% overall close rate, you need to know what you need to do. And at each point, there's going to be conversion rates. And like I said, you can pick off, try to improve the entirety of the funnel or certain parts of it. So the marketing messages, they're going to get some type of interaction that's going to create appointments, that creates discoveries, that creates proposals, that ends up closing in deals. So once you know what you need to do, it's very easy to go out there and do it. Whether or not you're actually going to do that, that's going to be up to you. But once you know what you need to do, just the point of going out there and having that activity up to the metric point where you know exactly what that's going to streamline down into. Remember, the awareness, consideration, conversion, loyalty, and advocacy, that's the process. And all you're doing on the right-hand side, you can see you're turning strangers into visitors, into leads, into customers, into people that will promote, user-generated content about what you do, brand advocacy, whatever that might be. They're out there telling our story for us. There's no better marketing than other people telling your brand, telling your success story, being a part of that. That really works. Even if you are just sending out email conversions, it's very, very easy to figure out, what you're getting back out of there. If you're just sending out a bunch of emails, you have campaigns, you're never looking at who opens it, who clicks it, what's happening. You might as well not even do it, because you need to understand that if I'm going to get, X number of conversions out of Y number of delivered emails, I can tell, hey, I've got a conversion rate of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10%, whatever it might be. And I can go back to that, expecting that to happen again. Let's move on to another quadrant, sales. Remember, if we're creating marketing, we're creating lead generation, the next step or the next quadrant that we're passing it off to on the client side is sales. One of the ways that you're going to increase your conversion of sales as an educator in this vertical is by being real. So you can't come off robotic, automated. You can't come off like a salesman, pitching. You've got to connect with these people. You've got to be real. You've got to learn how to, get that bottom of the pyramid, rapport, trust, credibility built. We do a lot of that by leading with the mission, by leading with education. But if you are or are not creating the lead, it doesn't matter. When you sit down as an educator, you're into a new quadrant. And part of that is connecting, being real, and getting somebody to be able to open up to you. Remember, the awareness, education, selection, onboarding, use, and expansion. This can work for clients or partners. We got a problem. Do they finally realize? You have the aha moment of the education, the wow moment of, basically understanding and disqualifying certain people to the point you've actually qualified them for something. And then whether it's, a client-based service or a partner, you have the onboarding, the use, and the expansion. And once again, problem, get them to commit, and then a solution. That's all it really is, guys. The sales conversion, outside of the psychological roadblocks and obstacles that you have to come over and overcome, is basically like every other part of your business. It's certain things that have to happen. And if certain things aren't happening or there's breaks in there, you can fix that. Is your sales funnel broken? Remember, there are conversion rates at every single step. Don't just think there's a top and a bottom conversion rate. Everything you're doing, the new target, the new objective, the new action step, everything you're asking somebody to do, there's a conversion rate. So you can fix as a whole, or you can fix individual. So understand that segmenting your business, picking off certain parts of your business and improving that part will improve the whole in a much wider ripple effect than you think. We need to know what you want. So remember, if you are on the conversion side, if you're an educator and you're expecting X amount of sales per month, you need to know what amount of appointments you need to have that convert into a secondary appointment that actually convert into purchases of products and services. If your target is 7% and you're actually at about 5.7, probably a couple small things that you can do to improve that. If you have no idea what your target is and no idea what your conversion rate is, well, you're going to have no idea what you're really doing. If you're able to grow, scale, teach other people. Remember, this is not just about you. If you're going to create distribution, you got to have an orderly way that you go about your business to teach other people. And if you want to take this to another level, then you have to understand conversion. I'm going to show you what we've been talking about in one easy to understand slide. So let's take a look at this. If we have a 10% conversion rate, we have 1,000 visitors, 100 prospects, 10 leads, 1 sale. Well, if we can boost that up to a 20% conversion rate on the same 1,000 visitors, now we have 200 prospects, 40 leads, 8 sales. That 10% left or 10% lift in conversion equals, in this example, an 800% increase in sales. So, when you're looking at the ripple effects of what conversion does and how to improve that conversion, it does a great deal, especially in the beginning stage of the business when you can incrementally increase or exponentially increase your business with examples just like this. Next quadrant is recruiting. That's finding partners. And this goes a lot along with, the marketing and lead generation. It's not any different, just a little bit different language and approach. And then also on the sales side, whether you're dealing with a client, whether you're dealing with partners, it's a lot of the same thing in terms of conversion and what we're looking for and what actually returns back in reality. So the recruitment marketing metrics, it's just a group of metrics that we want to look at and effectively use for your recruitment marketing strategy. And that really consists of the quality of the hire. I have hired some people that I wouldn't even give, especially in the beginning stage of my business, that I wouldn't give any time to today. It's no offense against them. They just don't fit in the mold of who I'm looking for. So the quality of the hire, the source of the hire, because once again, if something's working and you turn your back on it, well, that's going to be a big negative to your business because you probably didn't know that was working because you're not keeping up with it. If you know something's working, continue to go back to it until it doesn't work. The time to hire, the time that you talk to a potential partner to the time they actually onboard. What does that look like? Is it 2 weeks, 30, 45 days? And how do I, compress that time frame to get more velocity? The cost per hire, whether you're running ads, whether you're doing stuff on social media, what is the cost per partner? What's the cost per hire? And then your recruitment funnel effectiveness. Overall, how do things look? Are you bringing in enough people to survive or build the distribution part of this business? Everything that you do, and I know some of this stuff, looks unimportant to new people, but if you can dive down and you can really look at your business from a numbers perspective, like I said, it's a lot easier for you to build. It's easier for you to scale, and it's easier for you to teach other people because I don't want to be doing this business on my own with very few independent people or offices. I want a digital or a portfolio of digital agencies that are operating independently of me. And I need to be able to arm them with as much information so they can go out and they can build something that's going to have longevity and profitability. We talked about a few of these, but there's a lot of different things that you can look at as conversion rates or what you're looking at for the metrics for hires. And, once you understand who you're looking for, where to find those, get the message out in front of them that has raised their hand to want additional information, interviews, all of those things, it becomes a lot easier to build this. And it doesn't matter if you're dominating one particular niche partner market, the diversification is going to come from their markets. They're going to bring people in, do their own thing. They're going to have a certain type of persona that they want to be around. So don't think that you're too narrow in your approach. Diversification comes from the natural order of the build out. And then finally, what we're all looking for, that exit strategy, the distribution, the ability to create management that's going to bring independence. That's the last quadrant. It's probably the trickiest, and it's probably the most learning curve that you have to have throughout this whole entire process. But the good thing is, if you follow the lead, we've got some things in place that will dramatically help you overcome obstacles preemptively, before you really even know that they exist, because we've paved the way down to this point. So the teamwork, the plan, the game plan, all these tactics, everything you're drawing up for the roadmap of how we're going to get there, that's part of the last quadrant. One of the things that we have to understand, and it's very, very important, is that we can be a great sales trainer. We can be a great leadership trainer, but really we have to be able to straddle both sides of that in sales management training. And when you're building and developing sales teams, it's very important to understand that, you may be a great leader, but you've also got to be able to manage the sales teams as well. So the ability to crisscross, put things together, merge things into one, so you understand, what does my organization need to hear from me in order to get to the point where they don't need to hear from me at all. A lot of people fail doing this. Management's hard, guys. Building distribution's not easy, but it can be easy if you do some things to get out of your own way. 60% of managers fail in their role within the first 24 months. 47% of new managers do not receive management training. Well, if almost half don't receive management training, you can see why more than half are failing. We've got to be able to spend time with people that deserve it. And that means in the beginning, and that means through the process. When you recruit somebody, it does not stop when they come in. It still about a 90-day process from the time they come in. Now, if they're not doing anything, they don't deserve your time. That's one thing. But you got to, go through the process of developing people. Number one reason people leave a job is because of their manager. The number one reason people stay at their job is because of their manager. Management is going to make or break the ability to build widespread distribution. And you've got to be able to understand this is not just about you controlling a couple legs down. This is about you removing yourself from the situation and getting the same results that you would, 8, 9, 10 plus legs down. Be systematic. You may be great at what you do, but if you can't teach somebody else that, especially on the management side, guess what? It's not going to have the ability to be replicatable. There's going to be huge breaks, and that means lost revenue, lost income, lost growth, and that's all the things that we want to shore up at the very beginning. So we've got a system. People just need to follow it, but understand that management is an ongoing process. Some people will need you to hold their hand for a long period of time. Some people only need a little bit from you. I tell people I will help you in whatever capacity, whatever time length that you need, because I know everybody's different, but you got to be systematic. The time doesn't create the system. What you're doing within the system creates the system. And 4 tips to build the sales pipeline management. You've got to train your sales practitioners. You've got to define your sales process intellectually. You got to keep updating the information. You got to organize the pipeline. The more that you can be doing to get organized on an individual basis, the easier it's going to be organized on a managerial basis. And that's why we try to say, hey, put the things in place from the very beginning, even though nobody's watching you, nobody's depending on you yet. The stuff that you start to do from day one can have a positive or a negative impact on your ability to build distribution. No matter what you're doing, follow-up will make or break, on lead generation, on sales, on recruiting, even on management, people that are already in your organization. You need to have contact, you need to follow up, and you need to lead them, because remember, if nobody knows what you want them to do, it's impossible for them to be able to complete that task or take that action step. And then get organized. That's probably the biggest downfall that I see of partners coming in. There's no organization, and I've been there. I've written stuff down in a notebook, and then, when I was supposed to revisit that client, maybe I didn't enter it in the CRM, and I spent 25 minutes before the appointment combing through notebooks trying to read my terrible handwriting. Get out of your own way. Understand that we've got all these technology tools that will help you. If you've got deficiencies in your skill set like me and you're not an organized person, technology will help you. Get organized in what you do. A random approach to this is not going to work. And following next week, we're going to finally complete the 3-week conversion, multi-week session here. We're going to move on to something else. But like I said, I think this works out better for us and our partners if we cluster stuff together than going week in, week out, just introducing, new stuff and jumping from here to there. So let's do this.